Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Roundtable. My name is Ben Hedges, and I'm here in the studio with Kay Rubicek. Welcome, Kay.
Thanks for having me.
And we've also got David Zhang.
Thanks for having me.
So I have a bit of a fun story for you guys today because Elon Musk yesterday went on Tucker Carlson's show on X. Right. Formerly known as Twitter, and it was pretty interesting to say the least. So I want to show you what Tucker actually led with as the opener of the show. Let's check it out.
If he loses, man, what? You're dude. I'm
If he loses, I'm
It does seem that way. You can't just be like,
Yeah, I'm like, how long do you think my prison sentence is going to be? Do you think? Will I see my children? I don't know.
So yes, obviously talking about if Trump loses, Elon is, I don't know what that word that we covered up with those beeps was, but probably something bad.
Yeah.
So what do you make of that?
Well, let me say, I really love how these guys have taken TV to a whole new level where you're seeing the behind the scenes. That's probably before they even started recording, right? Yes. Isn't that awesome? That's sometimes the best part of the conversation. So, but yeah, I tend to agree with them. He's in a difficult situation.
I just think how dramatic the shift was for Elon Musk from the moment where he says he might be, he's not supporting anybody, to then suddenly after Trump was first shot at, he then basically endorsed him, to now going to rallies with them. He's going to be doing a lot more rallies with them. I think he's basically, so again, I think the perspective here is that Musk puts all of his sort of future of America, his vision of it at least, on the line of where Trump is going or what Trump has outlined. And so I think it makes sense for him to say that, because I mean, if Trump doesn't get elected, I think his version of America will no longer exist. Right. And I mean, obviously he thinks that they're going to come after him. We'll see. But yeah, I think his fear is real, but I just find how he can still laugh about it. So I don't know if that's a good thing or not.
Well, maybe in his mind he's sure Trump will win, which,
It seems pretty dire though, right? Okay, they're laughing about it. I like that. But sometimes it's better to laugh than cry. But it sounds like, actually, I mean, how dire.
There's a lot on the line for him. Right. So there's kind of two aspects to this, because one aspect is he goes on in the interview, and we're going to play you this clip in a second. He goes on in the interview to talk about how the country is going to be screwed if Trump doesn't win, okay, in his mind, in his thinking. And then he goes on to talk about how he personally could get screwed over if Trump doesn't win. So let's look at his first quote about what he's saying about the whole country.
I mean, my view is that if Trump doesn't win this election, it's the last election we're going to have. That the Democrats, the Dem machine, has been importing so many people, bringing in so many illegals, flying in with this like CBP border app thing that nobody even knew about, like secret program. That's illegal, basically. It's illegal, but there's no action by DOJ to actually to stop it from happening. They're transporting large numbers of illegals to swing states.
So his, I guess his view basically is that they're going to, increase the population of people from different countries, Mexico, Latin America, and all the other countries that are coming through that route in swing states, and he thinks that the Democrats believe those people will vote Democrat, and thus there will be no more swing states anymore.
He uses the term Dem machine.
He did.
That's a really interesting term, because I think what you're saying, what he said, it's already happening. We are seeing the migration. We're seeing the illegal immigration. But this concept of the Dem machine, that's something that I haven't really heard too much out there. And for him to say it, that's kind of...
He actually said that there was an interesting quote in the interview, because he did a tweet or an X, whatever you call an X now. He did a tweet about, he said, no one's tried to assassinate Kamala Harris, right? And his point was, he got criticized, so he deleted it, right? Because it sounded like he was calling for... But he says to Tucker, his point was that no one's tried to assassinate her because she's just a puppet, right? And if you assassinated her, the Dem machine will just put someone else in that place.
I think for Elon, though, because he started out as a Democrat, right? He was very much a long time.
So was Trump.
Yeah, exactly. So he was a long-term contributor to the party. He voted Democrat. So I think he has a little bit of credibility to talk about that side, right? But in terms of what he said about the illegal immigration, I think he's very certain, because what's been happening is we actually saw this in real time. So Texas is a good example of this, what's considered to be like a deep red state, right? In some of their elections,
turning purple now,
it's turning purple. Yeah.
Right.
So I mean, whether we want to talk about that part or not, I think the reality is like some of this stuff is actually manifesting in real time. And so, you know, his fear that the country could be no more, or no more elections, I can see that that might be a real big thing, because, you know, he's also in Texas too, right? So that's where I also find the entirety of this is that Elon's not trying to make some fairy dust happen out of thin air. He's actually living in the places, the problems that they're facing, and, you know, what he's going through. So I mean, my impression of the interview is that it really isn't just about himself, but it's his experiences that I think justifies, you know, what many are going through, especially in these border states.
Right. Well, so that was the section where he's talking about the whole country. Let's now actually look at the section where he does talk about himself, or his companies at least, and that's about Section 230, which is one of the things he thinks could be taken away if the Democrats win. So let's check that out.
Do you think they could shut you down if the Democrats continue to hold power?
They'll unequivocally try.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if they get a majority in the Senate and House and the presidency, then they can simply pass a law and delete Section 230. So simply make us liable for what anyone says on a platform with like at this point almost 600 million monthly active users.
Yeah.
Which is impossible. You know, that's like trying to regulate speech in city of like a country.
Yeah.
So
a big country.
Yeah, you'd just be instantly bankrupt.
So obviously Section 230, that's what protects social media companies for what is posted on their platform. So you can't sue a social media company if someone posts something, against the law. You have to sue the person instead of the platform. But before we talk about that, I want to give you another another quote from Hillary Clinton very recently on CNN, who actually said the exact thing that he was talking about. She thinks Democrats should get rid of Section 230.
In my view, repealing something called Section 230, which gave platforms on the internet immunity because they were thought to be just pass-throughs, that they shouldn't be judged for the content that is posted. But we now know that that was an overly simple view, that if the platforms, whether it's Facebook or Twitter X or Instagram or TikTok, whatever they are, if they don't moderate and monitor the content, we lose total control. And it's not just the social and psychological effects, it's real harm.
She says we lose total control.
Yeah.
Who is the we and who has total control? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, and they expected to have total control. I'm not sure what she means by that.
Well, that means China, right? No elections and total control over the internet. I mean, we're talking...
But it's really, so this whole thing about repealing Section 230 has been talked about for a very long time, right? And I think not nobody, but people have tried to do it, but there hasn't, like even when, I guess in 2020, when the Democrats did have control of the House, Senate, and the presidency, they didn't do it.
I think at times it's worked for the Democrats, at times it hasn't. And Republicans have also, I think Trump even threatened to repeal it at one time.
Exactly. So I personally think, like for me, my view of Section 230 right now is that it's protecting some of the speeches that we can see, because after Elon Musk bought Twitter, there is arguably more free speech, like at least there's no censorship. But then you can also argue to say that now Twitter is promoting some types of hate speech. So like you said, Ben, I think this is an issue that's really politicized.
I think if you repeal Section 230, you need something to replace it with. Maybe they just need to refine it.
But then it's like you make more laws to govern the existing laws, which you're already saying doesn't work. So how can you make the new laws work based on that's what I mean, right? Like you can't make laws the cure for all to govern people, because there's always going to be something that pops up outside of your law, right? Like, so how do you really make it work?
Said, if Section 230 was repealed, he could be instantly bankrupt, because the amount of lawsuits that could sue him would be huge. And maybe they'll target him rather than targeting Facebook. Maybe that's why they want to repeal it, and they'll just only target people. Well, he goes on to say something about, the Department of Justice specifically targeting him. So let me just play you that clip just now. And this is something that's already happened.
Like the Department of Justice, for example, launched a huge lawsuit against SpaceX for failing to hire asylum seekers.
Come on.
Yeah,
asylum seekers?
Not asylum, those who've been granted asylum seekers. Now there's also a law called International Traffic and Arms Regulations that because SpaceX develops advanced missile technology that can be used in nuclear ICBMs, that we have to be very careful with who we hire. We can only hire someone if they're a permanent resident or citizen. That's what the ITAR law says. Then there's another law that says that you cannot discriminate against asylum seekers. So we're damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Right, yeah, so that is the Department of Justice going after his company now, using the law that they currently have on the books to be able to do that, right? Which conflicts with another law, which is why he'll probably win the lawsuit. Actually, it's already been advancing kind of in his favor. If you read the most recent articles about it, it looks like he probably will end up winning it. But yeah, that's what they can do now without repealing, any laws. So the potential, if they were to repeal Section 230.
I'm a big national security guy, so anytime I hear that certain things like DEI or all of these like so-called inclusive hiring processes actually oversteps into the territory where you're now risking, like he mentioned, national security issues, that's when I'm like, okay, it's actually a little too much. And,
right, yeah.
And so, I think, honestly, this entire interview, to be frank, I think he revealed a little too much into what's actually going on in the country.
It's a super interesting interview. Like, I've only watched the first half, but I'm definitely going to go back and watch the rest of it tonight because he talks about some really interesting topics later on.
Some of which we can't really discuss.
Some of which would be too controversial for YouTube. Yeah, they would.
Yep.
They would.
Well, that's true. But I think Elon Musk has this ability or willingness to go off script. And like he spoke at the Butler rally with Trump on the weekend, and he spoke without a teleprompter.
Right.
And that is really... It shouldn't be impressive, but how many politicians are doing that these days?
Kamala Harris spoke without a teleprompter just recently, not through her own choice.
She can't even cope at her own rally when the teleprompter appears to malfunction momentarily.
We got 32 days until the election. So 32 days. 32 days. Okay, we got some business to do. All right. 32 days.
And I guess her speaking would have had a different type of impact to what this interview is having on the internet. I really think with Elon Musk now, how much of Lawfare is being used as just actual lawfare?
Yeah.
How many, the DOJ should know the likelihood of winning a case when they go into it on the front.
They just do it to waste the money of the company, right? They do it as harassment. I mean, Kennedy, they did it to Kennedy, their own guy.
Right.
The Democrats sued him many times in different states to get him off the ballot or do stuff, and then when he tried to get off the ballot, they sued him to keep him on the ballot because they wanted people to vote for him, not Trump.
And look, even maybe Section 230 is similar. Maybe they're using it to pass the buck around, or they're using for some people it's a carrot, and they'll say, great, we may get to repeal Section 230. For others, it's a real threat. And that they could get whacked in the head, or whatever's going to happen to someone like Elon Musk, who's already facing multiple lawsuits. That's a real distraction from his everything he's doing. So I wonder how much of it is just politics, this lawfare, right? Rather than actually being real legal things.
That sounds like a final thought. Do you have any final thoughts, David?
No, I'm just impressed.
All right, guys. Well, I encourage you to go and check out the interview. It's really interesting. It's on X, formerly known as Twitter, on Tucker Carlson's page, so you can check it out. But otherwise, leave your comments below. What do you think about Section 230? Should it be repealed? I'd love to hear what you think. And please subscribe to the Round Table for more videos like this. I'll put these guys' channels on screen now as well. You can click on them on the icon if you want to check them out. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.